welcome back to room 237, and yeah, doing another one in the bedroom. She's doing something in the living room. Again, I apologize if the AC is too noisy and distracting. But I have another Giallo review, and this is another one from the Pre-Argento era, the late 1960s. And this is actually one of the among the first orders I placed for this marathon a couple months ago, and I just never got around to reviewing it. And it's another one by famed Italian director Antonio Margheriti, who you might recognize from Tarantino films, Alias of Eli Roth and Inglourious Bastards, whole montage of Leo doing spaghetti westerns and war films and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, done by Antonio Margheriti. He did two Giallos. He did Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye, which I reviewed. That's in my top 3 worst Gialli. And he did this one, Naked You Die, which is also known as The Young, the Evil, and the Savage, which is what it was titled internationally. And of course he's also known for other horror films like Castle of Blood, Cannibal Apocalypse, The Unnaturals. He's done a lot of films, and then he did a lot of spaghetti westerns and war films. And I guess 15 minutes was hacked off when it came over to America, which I'm not quite sure why. But it was on a double bill with the Vincent Price film The Conqueror Worm, which, if I'm not mistaken, the better name for that title is Witchfinder General, which is a Price film I still need to see. I've heard great things about it. But yeah, so this is just a Dark Sky release. It looks like a Blue Underground release, but it's still in Italian. I had to watch it with subtitles. But I can say, as far as Antonio Margheriti goes, I liked it a lot more than Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye. I will say the first half is very slow, but it does get a lot better. Also, for Gialli, the ending was kind of, without giving it away just yet, it's kind of a Friday the 13th type ending, because I don't think we actually see the killer until the reveal. I think they're mentioned, which I do remember a scene where the killer's mentioned, but I don't think we actually see the character. Of course, I have read on some places that Margheriti is actually considered the stylistic rival of Mario Bava, and it kind of makes sense because there are some Bava esque things about this film. And actually, again, if I'm not mistaken, this film has an uncredited writing credit to Mario Bava. Yeah, I don't know how true that is. Doesn't say anything on Wikipedia, but actually doesn't even say who wrote it. I guess unless I go over to production. Oh, well, so Antonio Margheriti stated that he initially became involved with the Woolner brothers, who distributed Castle of Blood, and Bava actually started this film, but then he was working on Diabolic. This is according to Margheriti, and then they gave the production of this film to Margheriti and his company. So this started out as a Bava film, and I think they just used a lot of what Bava had already written and started. But also, there's a lot of callbacks to Psycho. I mean, we get like 2 shower deaths. Uh, one one attack that's on top of the stairs is not stylized the same. Um, there's also there's a character that's like an aspiring crime mystery author who also loves to read crime mystery novels, which is kind of like the lead girl in Girl Who Knew Too Much. There are some shots of people through windows and doorways, kind of like the way Baba does. But this it stars Mark Damon as sorry if I'm being really slow, as the male lead and love interest, Richard Barrett. Now, he would go on to produce The Lost Boys and Monster with Charlize Theron. And it stars Eleanor Brown as Lucille, who is our lead. Which there were some scenes where she kind of looked like the young girl from Black Veil for Lisa, but I know that wasn't her. Also has Luciano Pigozzi, who is known as like the Italian Peter Lorre. He looks a lot like Peter Lorre. He's been in especially a lot by Baba. I mean, he was in Blood and Black Lace. He was in Barren Blood, The Whip in the Body. He was in other films like Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory, Terror Creatures from the Grave. What are some other Baba films that he did? He was in The Unnaturals by Margheriti. He was in Hatching for the Honeymoon. He was in Human Cobras, which is a Giallo I'm kind of having a hard time finding, but I would like to get Human Cobras. Devil Has Seven Faces. I'm going to try to get at some point. He was in All Colors of the Dark. Again, Barren Blood, Case of the Bloody Iris. He was in Seven Deaths of the Cat's Eye, Frankenstein's Castle of Freaks. Bloodsucker Leads the Dance, which is another one I'm having a hard time finding. And he was also in Margheriti's Rambo ripoff, Tornado: The Last Blood. He was also in Zombie 3. So yeah, been in a lot of stuff. And Michael Rennie as Inspector Durand, people might know from The Day the Earth Stood Still. So it's got a pretty good cast. Sylvia Dionisio as Margaret. She looked really familiar. She did movies with Andy Warhol. Her last film was Murder Obsession, which I will be getting to. I did just pick that up. Oh, yeah, she's the girlfriend in Murder Obsession. And Franco De Rosa, that sounds familiar. But nope, I haven't seen anything else. So this is like I said, this is the Pre-Argento era, late 1960s. And it focuses on an all-girls school, which is kind of a popular setting for Giallo. Of course, it would become more popular with Dallamano's Schoolgirls Apparel trilogy. Would it be done to Solange? What have they done to your daughters? Which I have on order. I just got to pick them up. And then, of course, Red Rings of Fear, which he did not direct, but that's another one. And considering the title, Naked You Die, this is one of the least sleaziest Jolly I've ever seen. This is kind of like, Killers 1 of 13, where, like, there's no nudity. It's more implied, like, while the girls are in the shower. Not really any blood whatsoever. I think all the deaths are more strangulations. Actually, I take that back. Someone does get shot, and there's some blood, but it's not, it's not like a big bloodletting movie. So, and a couple of the girls actually are killed in the shower, so technically they are naked. But I would say The Young, the Evil, and the Savage might be a better title. So it opens up with this woman being drowned in her bathtub and then put in a trunk. Then we see the trunk get loaded onto a truck, and it just goes down the road for the duration of the opening credits, which has this very Adam West Batman-y type song called Nightmare, which I want to say was another alternate title for this, but I don't think it was. But like, Nightmare. It almost sounds like a mix between like the Batman show mixed with like 60s Italian comedy and even a little bit of like James Bond, like a lighthearted James Bond type song. I'm sure people will disagree with that. It was shot on location in Rome under the title Seven Virgins for the Devil, which it possibly the best title actually. So finally the trunk arrives at St. Hilda's School for Girls, where it's around the holiday. There's 7 girls left that stayed behind. We kind of meet them and hang around with them. You know, there's Lucy, who's our lead. There's Jill, played by Sally Smith. She's our eccentric crime novelist enthusiast. There's Denise, Cynthia, Margaret. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it gives me 5. And there's a few new teachers that have arrived. There's this new teacher, Mrs. Clay, who's, you know, dark hair, dark clothes. She's very stoic. A science teacher, or she's the science teacher. There's Richard Barrett, who's the equestrian instructor. Although it says diving instructor. And then there's a new gardener named La Forêt, who's played by Pagozzi. And La Forêt is the one that they really push in your face as the red herring, because he has a thing for these girls. He does keep watching them from the bushes, watching them while they shower. And the trunk shows up, and it goes down to the basement. And one girl named Betty Ann goes down, finds it. We get the first kill, which is like a POV strangulation. Now, Lucy is in love with Richard, the equestrian instructor. She seems to be jealous when he is giving instructions to other girls, which I think Betty Ann was the one he was giving instructions to. And they kind of have this couples thing they do where they kind of role play Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. So then when nighttime comes and they can't find Betty Ann, some of the teachers go looking for her. So does Lucy. She finds her, runs into Richard, but when they go back, the body's gone. And pretty much none of the teachers believe her. And the headmistress, which is who is named Mrs. Transfield, she reminds me of the head teacher from Suspiria. She's this very older, authoritative looking teacher. So I feel like there's a lot of humor in this, and I don't know if it's just the more lighthearted nature of the film, which that does sound crazy. But like when the new teachers arrive, some of the girls come into frame, and the music is like what each time they come into frame. The girls have some kind of silly banter. Like Jill is the most eccentric and kind of like, Mrs. Clay reminds me of a werewolf. Also, Sally Smith, I can tell she's trying, but she is in audio dubbing's worst nightmare, because the way she acts, like she opens her mouth wide for like every word. So her dubbing obviously doesn't sync up. But Lucy swears she saw Betty Ann's body. The teachers don't believe her. And the girls, especially Jill, seem to think that LaForet is responsible. And then we get scenes of him watching girls through the window as they shower. He does witness one get strangled from behind, which I don't think you really can strangle someone like that. Like, he's not even wrapped all the way around her neck. It's like the sides, more like a pressure point squeeze. And I think even he knows that people are going to be on to him, because then he has to go back into his living quarters and burn naked pictures that he has of other girls. And I feel the first half of this movie seems to be taking place from when the trunk arrives towards the morning, late at night, before the Inspector Durand and law enforcement gets there. But so Betty Ann, the girl in the shower, and then there's another girl who gets attacked because Lucy wants to run away with Richard. She can't stay in the school. She feels the killer's after her because she found Betty Ann's body. And eventually it comes out, I don't even remember when exactly this plot point comes up, but there is talk about how Lucy is worth like $500,000. There's like $500,000 inheritance if something happens to her. So that could be a motive. And they talk about how she has a cousin, but they can't find him because the police are trying to look into some of the families of the girls that are there. Jill really wants to help law enforcement. This was kind of a funny scene. She's like, she keeps saying, well, can I help? We'll call you. Oh, but I really want to help. We'll call on you if we need help. She's like, I have a walkie-talkie. And Durand is like, yeah, that's a cute toy. We got to get back to work. And she hides it under a pillow in the principal's office, which comes in handy later. Foreshadowing. And then, before I get to spoilers, we do, and I can spoil this because every Giallo has that character that is such the obvious red herring that they try to make either be so creepy or so threatening or so off that it's, if you watch enough of them, you know they're doing that just to get you focused on that person. Well, while he's burning those pictures, we get the POV of the killer coming towards him, and then his body is found. So now, who is the killer? So with that, I'll get into spoilers, and I know I haven't talked much about certain shots or music or anything like that, and other than some of the Bava, like, very mild, the Bava inspiration's kind of mild as far as the technical aspect. There's not a whole lot to say about it. Maybe I missed a lot, but I will say the first half is kind of slow. But once the second half comes in, it does feel more like a Giallo film. Once the bodies start piling up and more clues start coming up. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you weren't a fan of Seven Deaths of the Cat's Eye, this is definitely the better of the two. Also, yeah, it's Pre-Argento, so it's going to be different than Giallo from 1970 onward. The genre was still being worked on. I have read that, you can kind of draw a line from, in the evolution of sleaze from like Psycho to this to Torso. Kind of. I would more argue this to, this to Torso, or this to Solange to Torso. even though I still haven't seen Solange yet, so I'm not sure which one is more sleazy between that and Torso, but Torso is pretty sleazy. So, I mean, it's definitely not as good as Baba's Giallo from the 60s, or Black Veil for Lisa, but it does feel like it's more of like a step closer to the Giallo that we will know in the 70s than some of the other 60s ones. So yeah, I can recommend it, but just know what you're getting into before you see it. So with that, I'm gonna get into spoilers. So spoilers. Next day, uh, there's some sort of lime pit, whatever that is, outside where this one body is found, and I think Richard finds it, and we don't see who it is, and Durand and his agents have been at the school since the night before because they believe the killer's still on the grounds. Also, I didn't really talk about the girl that got attacked before. She got attacked in a pool because Lucy wants to take a shower. She keeps this other girl, I think it was Denise. She wants her to lay in her bed, pretend to be her, so she can buy time to meet up with Richard and run away. But at one point, Lucy and the other girl get outside, and someone in a diving suit comes out, pushes the other girl in, I guess thinking it's Lucy, and tries to drown her. And of course, the diving instructor is found sometime later after Jill saves the girl and the killer runs off. Diving instructor is found with the getup, which he says he's wearing while he exercises so he can lose weight. Which, if he's the diving instructor, I guess it's more circumstantial than anything. But so that girl is getting medical help for pretty much the rest of the movie. Hold on, the police dogs find the body of Betty Ann. And then at one point, Lucy even thinks Richard, or it all points towards Richard. So then, Lucy walks into the foyer of the school, looks at the top of the stairs, sees Richard. Of course, he just tumbles down the stairs. He's been shot. Not killed, but wounded. Oh, and they also say that they've identified the body of the lime pit as Mrs. Clay. So we're supposed to believe that Mrs. Clay has already been killed. Which, before I get to the twist, I will say, because I had heard there's some sort of, I don't know if I could say the word, but, someone dressed up as a different gender. Here, kind of like a sleepaway camp type twist, but I didn't know how it was going to work out. But I did notice that Mrs. Clay's dubbing voice did sound very deep. I wasn't sure. I think it's obviously she's played by a woman. Like, she was played by, God, this thing is so slow. Mrs. Clay. Ludmila Lavova, if I pronounce that correctly. It says Miss Clay Peter Moffat, which I think, wasn't it? Yeah, it says Pierre, but then Peter. Okay. But the dubbing voice almost sounded kind of deep. But they say we don't see her body, or I don't even think we see her get attacked, but we hear that Miss Clay's body has been found. So then when this person steps out from the shadows, kind of looks like Miss Clay. And that's where Lucy is like, Miss Clay? And he says, no, I've killed her already. The real Mrs. Clay was the woman from the beginning of the film that was drowned in her bathtub and put in the trunk and has been there the whole time. This is Pierre, who's kind of an Isaac for Children of the Corn looking guy, he's Lucy's cousin, which if she dies if she dies before she's 18, he inherits $500,000. But she turns 18 in 2 days, so he's very limited on time. His plan was, and he did leave a note. He left a note, a suicide note from Mrs. Clay saying, I killed all the girls, I can't live with what I've done, so I've committed suicide. But he was rushed because they were going to test for prints on, I think, Betty Ann's body, and that would have led them to him. Because she does ask later on, like, why did he set up the suicide before I was killed? That would have jeopardized the whole plan. And that's when the inspector says, well, he had to improvise, he had to work fast because, we were close in it, especially with the fingerprint analysis. So just when he's about to attack Lucy, Inspector Durand comes in, shoots him. And the reason why he was able to know what was going on was because there was a walkie-talkie in the room and he heard it from the hidden one in the principal's office. And then they're outside by the table talking about how, why was the body dumped and found early before she was killed. And then it ends. So not a bad twist, but I would say it's more of like a Friday the 13th type twist. It does kind of bend the rules of Giallo because I really don't remember the character popping up at all. I could be wrong, I could have missed it. But so therefore, if the character wasn't there and it was just a mere mention, it's kind of a character that just popping up and it just being a twist. It's like, it's okay, the killer is not, or the character is not who we thought they were. It's not like your typical Giallo twist where the killer was in front of us the whole time, we just didn't know it. So I could be wrong on that. Maybe this killer was there throughout the film, but I don't remember it. I mean, it's an okay Pre-Argento 60s Giallo. I will say it's definitely more lighthearted than some of the other ones I've seen, with some of the music, especially that Batman Nightmare song. It does feel more like some of it even feels kind of sitcom-y, especially when the girls are just kind of hanging out in the beginning of the film. It does feel more silly, lighthearted, almost kind of like a comedic, melodrama. But once we get to the halfway point, like once the inspector shows up, it does pick up a lot more. It does become worth watching, and there are some good twists and turns in it. So yeah, that is Naked You Die. It took me a while to get to this one, but so there's another one. I am now at 61 Giallo reviews, and I believe I'm at 98 or 99 Italian films overall, so close to 100. So I've been doing a lot this marathon, so go check out those two playlists, and I hope you like this review, and maybe my next video will be in my regular setting. But anyway, stay tuned for more Italian horror and Giallo reviews, and thank you for watching.